Hey guys, Chris here from Carolot Farm. Today I want to give you some updates because not only are we well into the fall, approaching the end of fall, but we have some things that we have been doing that are a little unconventional for some, and I just want to give updates on how everyone is doing. Our minis Rocky and Shenanigans here have a very common feeding routine and experience. They get their morning grain in a tub on the ground, nothing really unusual about that. And then I've put their hay out in their paddock. And as you can see, Rocky's gonna walk off and he's gonna go nibble on a different pile. And they get to have this roving experience that's very common for horses. Snuggles here is continuing to get her hay twice a day in the feedlot. She gets a flake in the morning and a flake at night. And so she has a very restricted amount of time and way in which she's able to eat her hay. And that's just kind of the unconventional way in which we're feeding her. It is working well though. She comes in, she cleans up her flake in the morning, cleans up her flake at night, and then she comes back out here into her turnout paddock, and you can see there's a little bit of grass to nibble on, but it's not much. I really don't have anything measurable in any of my horse paddocks right now. The reason Snuggles does get her hay though in the feedlot and she doesn't get loose hay in the field like the boys is because her pasture mate is Sweetheart. And Sweetheart behind me is still continuing to have issues with her asthma flare-ups. It's this ongoing thing all fall long that I'll talk a little more about because she's got some rough spots I want to mention. But from a feeding perspective, Sweetheart has not been getting any loose hay for over 2 months now, and instead she's been getting hay pellets that are soaked to replace the loose hay. And so Sweetheart, like Snuggles, comes into a feedlot and she gets her soaked hay pellets in the morning and she gets her soaked hay pellets in the evening. And that is the only hay that she is currently getting. So like Snuggles, she gets turned out and then she can chase that little bit of grass we have. It's not much though. So these girls are really heavily dependent upon the hay and the hay pellets that they get here twice a day in their feedlots. I think it's really beneficial to continue to give monthly hay updates because for me, again, that was the biggest question I had is how much hay do minis eat and therefore how much do I need to store and put away for winter? So if I back up a little, in the months of July and August, my 5 minis collectively ate 8 bales of hay each month. In the month of September, I fed 9 bales of hay, which was an increase. And if you remember, I also stopped giving Sweetheart any loose hay around the middle of the month and started giving her the hay pellets. So that means that the horses who were still getting loose hay were eating significantly more hay. Well, the trend continued because in the month of October, I fed 11 bales of square bale hay here out of the barn. And in doing my math and really tracking how many flakes of hay I give to Snuggles in her feedlot and then to the boys plus Lady in their field, it looks like Snuggles was eating around 1/3 of the hay that was fed, and 2/3 of the hay I fed went to the other 3. So, the trend is on the uptick for sure, and we haven't even hit the heart of winter yet. It's just the middle of November. But it's looking like the month of November will be right on track with October, sitting around 11 bales a month fed. And so you can just see the numbers are rising as the grass is diminishing, not a surprise, which is why we're working really hard to get our winter turnouts up and ready so the horses can hopefully have a little more access to some winter grass and not be quite as heavily dependent upon their loose hay. So fingers crossed we can make more progress on that. It's looking like probably it'll be early December though before we can officially move everyone out there. It's the middle of November now. We've got Thanksgiving and all kinds of stuff happening in the next week. So again, it'll likely be early December, but that'll be a huge relief once we can get horses out there. Lady has finished her breakfast and I've turned her out now with the boys. She comes, she nibbles on the hay. I know she's eating a little bit, but I don't think she's eating a lot of it. My nose is getting red. It's really cold out here today. I don't have my vest on. But she's doing well. And so Lady and the 2 boys are on average getting 2 flakes of hay in the morning and then 2 flakes at night. So, total, they're eating 2/3 of the amount of hay I'm feeding, and Snuggles herself alone is eating 1/3. And that volume of hay to horse ratio seems to be working well. Everyone's weight looks great. Lady has picked up some weight this fall since being transitioned onto the hay pellets. That seemed to really help bolster her weight. The boys look great on just what they're getting. Sweetheart is holding her weight steady with her hay pellets. And Snuggle is doing really well with just the loose hay twice a day, morning and night. So everyone's doing well with the routine we have and the feeding plan that we have in place. So that's great. But I do want to keep an eye on how much hay we're feeding, because unfortunately, the 30 or so bales that I had left over from my last hay shipment in this, last winter, early spring, seems to have either been baled a little wet, or I have a moisture issue in my hay barn, because several of those bales are just not very good. They have a little bit of mold, they've been compromised, and I definitely don't want to be feeding, bad hay. I don't want my horses to get sick. So we don't have near as much hay heading into winter as we thought we would. But again, we have a plan for how to supplement that. My friend who owns Snuggles is going to, reimburse us some of the hay that she's eaten this fall. So we'll be in fine shape, I know, but it's not what we thought we would have as far as the amount of squares. Squares are just so easy and convenient to feed. So once those kind of are used up, we'll have to transition to round bales. And rather than putting a round bale out in the field for free choice, we'll just be like unpeeling them and feeding them loose like that. So it's a little more work, but I'll keep you posted on how our hay holds up and what it looks like if and when we have to start feeding those rounds. The last thing I want to mention though before I say farewell is what's going on with Sweetheart, because it has been an unusual fall for her, and I do want to mention that because that's quite a journey that we've been on. About a month ago, Sweetheart first started getting these like weepy, sticky spots right underneath her jaw line, her throat latch area. And then it spread like up underneath her jaw. And then we had a few spots pop up on her abdomen. And so now she has them on her forehead and her cheek. That's what this rough hair patch is here. It's this sticky spot that she's having some sort of a weepy reaction to something. And it's mostly been here on her forehead, up on her forehead, her jaw, her throat latch. But she has had a few, like I was telling you, on the sides of her abdomen. We don't know what it's caused by. We have no idea what this new reaction is really from. But it's just one more sign that she is having this continuous, ongoing, chronic reaction to something. So we're still trying to get to the bottom of it. The vet really isn't sure. They were thinking that probably she was having a reaction to some sort of, insect or other parasite like a tick. I did find one tick on her. She does get these kind of large lumps that are oozy when she has a tick bite, but that doesn't seem to be what she's experiencing everywhere else. So we're really not sure what's going on with her, but luckily this has not been affecting her breathing as much. So that's a good sign. That's the silver lining. Whatever this reaction is, it's more isolated to just kind of a skin reaction and not so much a breathing airway issue. Something else I will note that is a little different about Sweetheart and this unusual condition of hers is some days she coughs a lot. Some days she doesn't cough hardly at all. And so every day is a different day. And it's the most perplexing thing. The vets don't really know what's going on. I certainly have no idea what's going on. We've tried eliminating as many triggers as possible, and so we're doing the best we can. If you have a horse with similar issues that you have gotten to the bottom of, let me know, because we're on this mission of trying to help this little horse, and we all really just are still at a loss. So I'm happy to say that she's feeling relatively well. I don't think she ever feels great, which is unfortunate. But, she's hanging in there, and I just hope that we can get everything calmer. With every day I'm hoping she gets better and her immune system gets stronger, and whatever these reactions are less and less. So fingers and toes crossed. But it's just unusual, the cough. Sometimes we hear it, sometimes we don't. I haven't heard her cough the first time today. Some days she coughs her head off while she eats her breakfast, so I have no idea, guys. In preparation for remerging this herd, hopefully more permanently out in that new winter turnout, I am giving them time, if not every day, every other day, to kind of come and graze and kind of intermingle. They're doing well. Sweetheart is still the most dominant one. Poor lady gets pushed around a bit, but she's really good friends with the boys. They're really gentle with her. It's really just Sweetheart and Lady I have to keep a close eye on. And so once we put everyone together in our winter turnout, we'll have to then kind of figure out what to do when supplemental hay is needed. And, does Sweetheart come out of the field while everyone else eats their hay? Do we try to put her back on hay for the winter? Removing the hay for multiple months has not completely remedied anything. So it's really hard to say if hay is even a contributing factor. So we'll see, time will tell. But right now they're getting their daily grazing in, and you can see, Snuggles was kind of pushing Rocky around. But by and large, they all get along pretty well. So the young ones also enjoy, just playing together. Snuggles is trying to get Shenanigans to run and play with her here. They're pretty silly. I'm not sure Shenanigans really wants to play right now, but Snuggles is very persistent. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really thought I was going to talk about just the uniquenesses and how we were feeding our different minis, a variety of different things, different ways. We talked more about Sweetheart's asthma conditions and these latest flare-ups that she's having. So I hope you found this to be helpful. And if you have any, tips on horses with asthma, send them my way, because again, we're really still in search of how to help Sweetheart. So have a great rest of your day. Stay warm wherever you are, and we hope you check back soon. Bye, guys.